Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a video covering the Pulsar X3. I've got the size 2, which is the medium, and the size 1, which is the small. These mice also come in left-handed versions where the buttons are on the opposite side, so keep that in mind for any lefties who wanted to experience the G703 in a left-handed format. That is going to be the mouse that we compare the most to the X3 because, of course, that is what the inspiration was from. I do think that the Mini is going to feel like a G703 Mini, something that we haven't had on the market so far, making the X3 size 1 feel very unique and actually like its own mouse in its own right, but definitely captured that essence of the 703 very well. I don't think the S Prime did it. I don't think they got close enough to that feel. The X3 size 1 definitely takes that essence and nails it. In terms of the size 2, the thing that you guys are probably most concerned about in this review is how it compares to a 703. If you are a G703 stan and you just need that shape back in an updated format, the X3 size 2 is going to be the closest thing to it without being a direct clone. There are some differences, though, that I do think could change your ultimate feel on the bottom side of your palm with each of these mice. To me, the things that I noticed swapping from one to the other is the hump on the Pulsar X3 does feel a little bit higher, and it kind of tapers and comes up to a more bald point where the hump hits its peak, making it feel like it hits me under the bottom side of my hand right about here, whereas the G703 just remains more rounded as it comes up, just a little bit more of a flatter surface area as opposed to coming to like a ball. The overall shape is about the same. I do feel that on the click height, the X3 does feel a little bit lower where the ultimate position of my fingers rest. And transferring to the scroll wheel, the positioning, of course, feels a little bit different. The G703 near the curvature where it starts as it kind of gets close here to the meaty portion of your thumb, I do feel like the X3 protrudes a little bit more, and where my thumb rests, you can see where it's resting here on the X3, I feel like it feels a little bit more inward on the G703 in comparison to the X3. The only other thing that I do feel is on the G703, this rubberized portion on the right side, I feel as though there is like a little bit of a ledge here that I can rest my ring and pinky finger. It kind of just feels like there's a little bit more meat on that right side, whereas the X3 feels like it kind of goes downward a little bit flatter. So I can still rest my ring and pinky finger there. It just feels a little bit more maybe comfortable on the G703. Like there's a little bit more there. For me, the X3 size 2, it just doesn't work for me anymore. I'm more of the magnesium ergo that they released a few weeks back or a month ago, whenever it was, and the Vaxi E1. I'm just more of that like typical ergo. In testing the larger ergos again, I did move and do some testing on the G Pro Superlight Dex. To me, like this just kind of gets that essence of a 703 as well. But the main difference on the Dex is kind of where you like pick it up in this pocket. It just feels as though I've got this like nice, like just sandwiched grip on the front of the mouse. Just really a really nice tight grip there, starting with my thumb and where my index and ring finger just groove into mouse 1 and mouse 2. It's a very interesting grip feel, and I think the Dex probably got a little bit underrated just because how upset people are with Logitech for not producing things a little bit faster and maybe some things that people have been asking for. For me, I just can't really get a good play out of the big, voluminous, palm-filling size anymore. The Mini just worked quite a bit better, and the inner hand maneuverability for me is just extensively better. So when I do want to kind of hybrid things up and get some of that engagement from my fingers, the Mini really does allow me to do that while still providing me the great feel of the essence of a G703. You can see it's of course quite a size difference between the two, but just the way the thumb curve is and the way the ultimate shape and curvature is, they did a great job, I feel, of like making a really nice G703 Mini. And again, if Logitech wasn't going to do it, it was just a matter of time before someone did, and before someone nailed it. I think they actually did nail it with the size 1. I think a lot of people are going to like it, and if you have smaller hands and you wanted to get that experience of a 703, it might be a great option for you. Overall, the build quality of both of these mice, I have no issues whatsoever. Both mice are using Kale opticals now instead of Raisha, and you can hear they're not like the lightest switch implementation here, but they do feel great with IEMs or headphones on. They feel very tactile, responsive, and poppy. I do think that it just beats the Raisha implementation of Pulsar past to a great extent, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy with this. I have no side flex, no switch grind, nothing to mention at all. And I should mention that these are retail copies. These are not reviewer copies, and my build quality is very consistent on both of these copies. You can see on the size 2, like mouse 1 and mouse 2 have a little bit more movement, but that's not anything that I felt in game hitting the buttons at the top of the buttons. And pre and post travel are very minimal on both sizes. Side buttons feel great, and both are using, again, those Kale opticals. Both are using Pulsar Blue encoders that feel fantastic. If you haven't used a Pulsar Blue encoder before, it does have like these kind of like dampened steps both up and down, but it's very quick to scroll both up and down and feels great. It's not too loose. It's also not, I would say, tight by any means. And mouse 3 is spammable on both copies. So like the general improvements here to the click feel and the click infrastructure, moving to different switches and being able to recognize that people wanted a change, it's nice to see that they've implemented those, and it really is feeling quite great. I have no issues with my side buttons. I think size 2, I had a little bit more post-travel, but overall, like barely any post-travel, barely any pre-travel on both of these copies. And I can squeeze this mouse for you guys and show you build quality tests, but the shell doesn't move on any of these mice. So great build quality. Again, my size 2 came in at 53 grams with dots. My size 1 came in at 49 grams with dots. So it really depends on if you want something kind of G703-esque or if you want something that might be a little bit more of a recent natural ergo, like in E1, in EC2, EC3, or the new magnesium ergo from Pulsar. That probably is my main ergonomic mouse right now in my rotation. It is on the smaller side, still get that inner hand maneuverability, and it just flows in my hand quite a bit more. It doesn't fill the palm to the great extent that the size 2 does. So it's great to see that with a lot of demand in the community for something like a 703, with a bigger company sitting on with their hands under their butt, it's nice to see that Pulsar was able to listen to the community feedback and provide something, always popping out with new things, always popping out with new shapes. They've been really fast, and I think they've kind of filled a lot of the hunger in the community. So I think for me, Pulsar is just one of those brands that you love to see them coming out with new things and kicking some butt. But that is going to be it for this one, guys. I hope it helped. If it did, please leave a sub to the channel. See you guys in the next review. Peace.